Welcome to the Rooted Family Podcast, where we learn how to mindfully boost our brains for optimal health and learning. Join me, Erin Sadler, teacher, speaker, brain health coach, yoga instructor, founder of the Rooted Family, but most importantly, mom of three, as we talk about how we can bring peace, prosperity, and fun into homes, schools, and communities. We all want to raise families that thrive in the world, not just survive. And this podcast will help you do just that. Thanks for joining us. Let's get growing together. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Rooted Family Podcast. We're so glad to have you. If you're listening online, thanks for joining us. And if you're listening to 103.5, thank you for joining us there on the radio, too. Today's guest is a pretty amazing woman. Kellie Kalberer, who runs Fun Run 101, is here to talk with us today about an active fundraiser you can do for your kids and for your families. And my family has had the distinct honor of participating, and I actually had the blessing of running one for our local school. Let me tell you a little bit about Kellie because she's pretty amazing. She graduated from the University of Utah with a major in meteorology and a minor in math. She worked for the National Weather Service in a scientific services division, which to me, because I've met her after that, seems so amazing. Because I didn't know her when she was doing all these awesome things. She married an Air Force pilot, and she has lived around the world. She's an avid runner, a mom to 3 teenagers, so listen up because she's got some good mom advice about trying to balance or keep things all in check. She got her MBA from the University of South Carolina while she was stationed in that area. Her military life brought her to Wisconsin, and as her oldest started school, she discovered a disconnect in the fundraising processes at schools. Not enough money was being raised and retained at the school level, and the kids weren't involved in the process. Out of that, her company, Fun Run 101, was born. In Fun Run 101 events, all students get to participate, regardless of whether or not they fundraise, and the schools typically keep upwards of 90% of the funds raised, which is pretty amazing. And if you have ever had to go out and hawk something for a fundraiser for your kid's school, you might just want to listen. And then if you are looking for a way to find out more, come join us. Check out therootedfamily.com. You might want to look into joining us at the Rooted Family Circle, which is my monthly membership service where families learn how to connect, have fun, and grow in mindful self-awareness. We talk about things like growing kindness, growing gratitude, having a growth mindset, building emotional resiliency skills, creativity, and how to have respect and responsibility in a family that carries on for a lifetime. If you are looking for something right now in your family, that just might be the ticket to help you get started with raising your parenting bar if you feel like you need that. If you're looking to raise the bar in gratitude a little bit, you might want to check out our Be Grateful 21 fun-filled family bonding activities for you and your family to do together to really build those brains in gratitude. Gratitude does so many things for our brains and bodies. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rooted Family Podcast. Kellie is here with me. I'm so excited. I know you just heard the intro about all the amazing things she does and her amazing family. But we're here to get into her business, Fun Run 101. I have seen it do great things in my own family. And I actually had the pleasure and the blessing of helping run it for my kids' elementary school one year. So we're just going to ask Kellie a few questions because I think when we are moms and running our own businesses and trying to make that family work like you guys all are out there, then we need as many tips and tricks as we can have. So first of all, Kellie, I have to ask you, how did this brainchild come to you? What gave you the inspiration? Because really, once we did this, I'm like, once we ran Fun Run 101 and we did this fundraiser, I was like, why would we ever go back to what we were doing previously? It seemed like a no-brainer. So what made you think of this idea?
Well, Fun Run 101 was born quite accidentally. When my oldest child started elementary school, I got her on the bus the first morning and I sent her off, and I waited as a patient mom at the bus stop when she came home, and the big yellow bus pulled up and all of these kids bounced off and the bus drove away, and there was no Marin.
Oh, no.
I didn't quite know what to do, so I grabbed my other kids and put them in the minivan, figured I would go somewhere and do something to look for her.
Right.
And as I was doing that, the bus looped back around and stopped at the bus stop again, and off she came. And I was very happy as a mother to see that I did have a child returning from my first day of public school. But at the same rate, I'm like, what happened? Why didn't you get off? And she had been given on that very first day of kindergarten an entertainment book. And they were supposed to come home and give them to their parents and tell the parents that they're selling entertainment books to raise money for the school. And she knows how much I love a good coupon. And she had her nose in that book and was reading all of the coupons and wasn't looking out the window to see her stop. By the time she realized, she told the bus driver, and he looped around, and we got her home safe. But in my head, I thought there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
So I got involved with the school's parent group and started going to meetings and just listened for a while. And the next spring, I opened my big mouth and said, hey, can I try something different instead of selling entertainment books?
Yeah.
And fortunately, we had leadership in the school that was willing to give me a chance and go with it. And that's when Fun Run 101 was born. It worked out really well in our school. After doing it the first year, our principal said, hey, this is really great. You should do something with this. And I thought, well, that was a very nice compliment.
Right.
Thank you so much.
I'm raising all these kids.
Yeah, we'll see you next year. So year 2 came around, and we were even more successful in our fundraising efforts. The kids were loving it. The parents were loving it. The staff was loving it. And the principal said again, no, really, you should do something with this. And about that point, I started having other schools start to inquire about it. And I thought, you know what? Maybe there is a market for something like this. I have an MBA that had kind of been sitting on the back shelf of momhood. And I thought, I'm going to pull that out of my pocket and start a business.
Wow.
And here we are 10 years later. And it's become a very integral part of our family's life.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. In 10 years, I guess I didn't realize 10 years. That is pretty amazing. So if you have ever had your kids bring home a fundraiser, and I look at it from both the parent and the teacher perspective, they are a lot of effort on you as the teacher to keep everything in line, and they're a lot on the parents, and it's oftentimes a lot of stuff that you don't want to hawk to somebody else. So, you're calling grandparents, you're walking door to door, and whether it be a food item or whether it be something that you're going to wrap gifts with, whatever it is, you feel as the parent that you have this weight on your shoulders. So when my kiddo brought this home and said, no, we're actually going to do the work, we're actually going to have the event at the school, I was like, sign me up. How do we do this? Because this is so amazing. I feel the kids get to take ownership in doing the fundraising for their school, which builds that respect and responsibility for their school in themselves, and they get that self-confidence boost. Have you seen that other places as well?
Very much so. One of the neat things is every student gets to participate in the fun regardless of whether or not they fundraise. They're out there, they're working hard, they're pushing themselves and challenging themselves. At one school I was at, a fourth grader that didn't know who I was but saw me at the run and helping with it, walked up to the hall and me afterwards, and she had just a look of exhaustion on her face, and she said, with all honesty, my legs are going to fall off. And then she smiled and walked away as proud as can be.
Yes.
She had just accomplished something that she never thought possible. I often wonder how many of the kids that start doing this in elementary school discover running and go on to participate in their track teams or cross country, or just have that lifelong healthy skill of wanting to go out and run.
Right, yes. And the community building that it is, because as you heard in the intro about how they actually run, when the kids are all out there together and they're running together, you can feel that sense of community. And the cool thing is, I have gotten to do some of the mindful minute warm-ups for several schools in the local area, and you have kids that walk out there and feel apprehensive about doing this because they feel like they have to run the whole time, or they don't know exactly. Maybe it's their first one, especially when you see those little kindergartners walk out and they kind of look like, what are we doing? But all of a sudden you see when the music starts and everybody starts running and the teachers are out there with you, that sense of community and I can do it builds in to the whole theme of what they're doing. And a little kid who thought, I'm not going to be able to do this, has friends cheering them on, and there's fun laps. So the kids are having fun doing different activities at each lap. So it's not straight running. They do different activities in. Now, there are children that love to straight run, and we let them straight run. But it is fun that there's different breaks built in there for the kids. So a kid that may never have experienced that physical activity of doing a quote unquote fun run gets to try something new that they might not have been able to try before, which is what I love so much. Which, Kellie, tell us a little bit about the triple win, because I think this kind of builds right into that triple win.
I like to think of Fun Run 101 events as a triple win. It's a win for schools who typically retain over 90% of the fundraising dollars earned. That's remarkable, as most fundraisers bring in X amount of money and schools only keep 40 to 60% of those funds. So 90% is way high up there on the list. Second, it's a win for parents who aren't trying to push products on family and friends. Yes. And takes the work off of their shoulders. And third, it's a win for the students themselves who are pushing themselves and realizing what they are capable of when they may have never thought that they could accomplish something like a 20-minute run.
Yeah, that really is that on all sides. And this is a personal, but I have had nieces and nephews, ask me for fundraising money, and I will just say, give me the name of your school, and I will write it directly to the school, because I don't want whatever that product is. But putting money behind the child doing the activity and actually taking ownership and raising money for the school is a totally different, it's a game changer, really. And I think it builds, instead of being a salesperson for a company as a child, you get to do something productive for your school to help fundraise, which I think is so huge. And as we talked about in the intro, less than 1/4, so 24% of kids 6 to 17 years of age participate in 60 minutes of physical activity every day. And we know that as kids are growing up, we're having less recess time. We're having less outdoors time. We're seeing less of that. So to actually, as a school, say, hey, we're going to make the commitment to do this as our fundraiser and to make this something that we're all going to do together, regardless of our comfort level. Because that's the other thing. You see teachers out there, and some teachers may be active runners. Some teachers may be active walkers. Some teachers might not regularly exercise, but all of them are out there trying and being with the kids and having a good time. That's what I really love about it, too. You see them really start to participate, too. Okay, so does this work for small schools? So the schools that we have around here, I would say, wouldn't you say, are like mid-sized schools? They're not. Yeah, they're not huge, but they're a bigger size school. So what if you have a school that doesn't have as many kids?
We work with schools that have as few as 70 kids in a K-8 building, up to schools that have 800-900 students in a 1st through 3rd grade building. It works on school sizes of all levels, and we customize the runs specifically for each building to make it work with their particular population.
Yeah. I do know one of my girlfriends I connected you to, and she ran one very small school, and she was actually a little nervous, saying, I don't know if we're going to be able to raise any funds based on past participation in fundraisers. And she, oh my goodness, called me and was so excited because that's what happened. The community got behind this idea of helping kids be active and raising money for their schools. So I think at a community level too, it's such a buy-in for the community. Like, yeah, we'll support, we're not going to support selling a product, but we're going to support coming and having kids run and raise money for their own school. So I think that is a huge component as well, as bringing the community together, from what I've seen and from what she relayed when I talked to her about her school, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so I have a mom question for you. So running your own company and having 3 kids like I have 3 kids, what are some tips or tricks you have for how you balance it?
I think it's always a moving target.
Yes.
When you're talking about balancing family and business and all of the other things that we're involved in our communities, whether it's volunteering or church or different things that we have on our plate. And those items are always changing and moving. One thing that I have found is I like to get up about 20, 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
It gives me an opportunity to have a cup of coffee, to make sure that my teenagers actually got up when their alarm went off.
Yeah, that always helps.
And then I take a little time for myself. I go through my day, what needs to be accomplished, maybe fire off a few early emails before I have to get rolling with things.
Yes.
And it starts my day off right. That doesn't mean the day is going to stay
right
on course. Sometimes we derail, but but we course correct. One of the things that I've learned to do over time is to learn how to say no.
Yes. Tell us about that. I want to hear more about this.
And I found myself at a point several years ago where I was doing everything. I was running a business. I was the president of the parent group. I was the Girl Scout leader. I was volunteering in other areas, driving kids everywhere. And I never knew what hat was on and when. And I had an opportunity to step away from everything, which I did when our family moved for a year.
Yeah.
And it was a nice way to step away. And I said, I'm going to say no. I'm going to learn to say no and make time. And I kind of swung too far on the pendulum. And I said no to everything.
Yeah.
But I've learned how to balance it, and just having an understanding that sometimes saying no leaves the door open for the right yes.
Yes.
And making sure that I keep just a little room on my plate, because I'm always excited to see what life's going to bring next. And I want to be able to key in when the right opportunities do come along.
Yeah. And I think what I have learned too in my art of saying no, which is always a work in progress, but I think what I learned too is if I say no, it gives the opportunity to somebody else who really wants it as a yes. Instead of me half-tailing a yes and saying yeah, but doing it reluctantly and then not having my heart 100% in it, I just block somebody else who would have their heart 100% in it, who could make a better contribution than I might be able to make out of obligation. So I try and always think of it that way, of me saying no is not me being selfish. It's me actually opening the door for somebody else to do that. And don't you think teaching, I think we both can agree we have very active children, and they're very self-motivated to try new things, which we love, but having that balance for them too, but letting them know that it's okay to really hone in and focus on what you want to be passionate about.
I think that's very important, and also making sure that your family does stay at the top of that list, and making sure that you are able to key in as a parent. I've really, in the last few years, tried to say family first, business second, everything else after that, because above all, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And those years are fleeting.
Yes. Oh, I think you You and I are coming real close on that too, as our oldest ones are getting older, realizing that you really do have that limited amount of time left. So you really want to enjoy it and embrace it. Sometimes I think in the beginning of motherhood, when we're first in the trenches, you don't always think about that. But I think now that our kids are getting older, you think, oh gosh, we might only have this many summers left. Or as kids go off to do amazing camps and things like that, you're like, oh, that will be more and more frequent that they're not going to be with us. So just spending that time with them, I think that's a perfect, I don't think you and I ever want to look back and be like, we didn't spend enough time with our kids.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, Kellie, how do people find you if they're looking for you?
They can find us at www.funrun101.com. And we are also on Facebook. If you want to follow us there, we always share a lot of great pictures and videos from our schools that are running.
Oh, thank you. And I have to give a heartfelt thank you from my family, because what you started as a business has impacted my family. Like I said, I was blessed to run it one year, but my children have taken such pride and ownership in doing it every year. So thank you so much, because number one, thank you for not making me sell something that I didn't believe in. That's the art of saying no too, is that, when you come home and you're pushing maybe even non-healthy food on friends and family, that always rubbed me the wrong way. So me not having to sell things that I don't believe in to other people just to raise money for my kids' school, but also for my kids getting to feel that pride of doing a fun run with their friends in their school and having that school celebration. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I always like to say we try and put the fun in fundraiser, and really what it is bringing everyone together to celebrate and enjoy a day of healthy physical activity. Schools say that even if they raised $0, they would want to do that run every year just because of the community it builds and the values it puts forward to our kids.
I love that.